use a 21mm socket. If you have a wheel lock, loosen up the wheel lock first while you're on the ground. Move the wheel. Before I take the caliper off, because we don't have a new brake line, I'm going to crack it free. Use a 17mm wrench and loosen it up. And just snug it, just so it's not leaking. I'll use a 14mm socket or a wrench and take the two caliper bolts out. Now take the caliper off, and you can just hang the caliper on the side. You can use a brake caliper hanger and just go around the coil spring. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose. Take the brake pads off. Now we'll take the bracket off. Use a 17mm socket. Take these two bolts out. And slide the bracket off. Now we're going to take the bracket off the new caliper. Take a socket, 13mm socket. Take these bolts off. Just take a screwdriver. We're just going to take the pad slides up. Just put a little bit of caliper grease underneath the pad slides. And put the pad slide back on. And put a thin coat of grease right there. Do the same with the other side. Slide the bracket over the rotor and put the bolts in. Get those started. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 65 foot-pounds. Now install the brake pads. There we go. Now we can take the old caliper, take the hose off. You might want a drain bucket underneath because it is going to drip. Loosen up the hose. And we'll just spin this off. And if you were replacing the hose, you could just put the new hose on the new caliper. And take the new caliper and just get this started. And take your wrench, snug it up. Make sure the bleeder is a little bit loose so some air can come out of that. And make sure you have plenty of fluid in your master cylinder reservoir. And just slide this over the brake pads. And put the bolts in. And I'm going to use a 14mm wrench on the slide and torque these bolts to 25 foot-pounds. With the caliper on the vehicle now, you can go back and tighten down the brake hose a little bit. And if you have the ability to torque this with a torque wrench, you want to torque this to 17 foot-pounds. Just snug it up good. You can always double check when you're done the repair, make sure it's not leaking. Now we've bled the brakes out a little bit, leaving this screw open. That's just gravity bleeding it. We're just going to close this up for now. Use a 7mm wrench and just snug that up. At this time, you want to have someone help you out and pump the brake pedal while you open and close this bleeder screw. So go ahead and pump the brake pedal and hold it down while it's being held. I can open this bleeder screw for a second. Some of the air came out. And then close it back. Go ahead and pump it up again. Hold it and open it up. You should see some air coming out. Yep. Now close it up again. Go ahead, pump it and hold it. Open it up. And normally after 3 tries, you get all the air out, and that looks good. And snug this up. You can use a little brake parts cleaner on there, or wipe it, and put the cap back on. After you're done bleeding the brakes, go back and double check the fluid level. Put the wheel up, and put the lug nuts back on. And torque the lug nuts to 77 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. And go back again, just double check.